5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Yes, we are here. It's one of those mornings this morning. Good afternoon, as it is now. Good evening, good morning, good night, good day, goodbye, hello. One of those will apply to you. It's 1 o'clock. It's Monday. Oh, you weren't expecting this, were you? No. Welcome along to our brand new show. As you can see there, it is called Extra Time. Something we're trying, and that is looking at sort of the world of football outside of Leicester and what's happening news-wise there. And it's been a good week to start. But first of all, if you're in the chat, and Josh is in the chat, I've seen him. Welcome along, Josh. If you want to join in with the comments, stick them in the bottom corner. I'm not pointing, don't stick them on Tom. Stick them in the bottom corner there, and they will appear. Just keep them obviously respectable. Smash the likes and subscribe. And if you're watching on catch-up, add your comments below, but you can also like and subscribe. And if you're listening via your favourite podcast platform, as I always say, thank you very much for lending me your ears. Good afternoon, Tom. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Looking forward to this. You know, it's nice to have a bit of a Monday sort of chat after a weekend with so much heavy football news. There's been so much going on already, only a few weeks into the season. So extra time is definitely the right word, mate. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, indeed. And I have to say, let's get it out of the way quickly. Don't miss the show tonight at 7 o'clock when we're going to do a review of our game against Oxford. But let's just touch on that briefly, because obviously we are a Leicester channel. It felt like a win.
Yeah, it's one of those rare ones where you drop some points, but the way the circumstances played out, it felt like a very good performance to me. It probably felt to be, for my money, one of the best performances of the season, if not the best one. So I think, you know, that's an encouraging step forward, mate, and really nothing hurting because we're still right at the top end, aren't we? We compare us to Ipswich or Southampton as well.
We're still fourth, you know,
yeah.
we went up second for a while. We're still fourth, which, fair enough, we dropped a point. We're still above Ipswich, although obviously they smashed Sheffield United, and we'll come on to that in a bit. Southampton could only draw 0-0 with Portsmouth, and I have to say, all the build-up that I gave it, and I was considering doing a watch-along for it, it is the big South Coast derby, and as you know, I'm on the South Coast. My God, it was a bore fest.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't good, was it? I had 2-3 in, like goals everywhere, and a 0-0, mate.
Yeah. I forgot about that in the prediction league. I can't remember what did you go for that one? Because that was one of the Super Six, wasn't it?
I think I went for Portsmouth to win 3-2.
I went 2-1. I got excited there. I went 2-1. I thought I'd gone.
I'm pretty sure I'm trending down in the prediction league. I might be near the bottom 3 after this week, mate.
I'll tell you what, if you're trending down, I'm what do they call the fish? Bottom feeders.
Yeah, we're becoming an oil, mate. We are at the bottom. We're getting completely mowed over here by everyone else.
We are. But look, no, it felt good. And they do say, don't they, sort of, sometimes teams play better when you go down to 10. And I think that was one of those occasions that it did. We did.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think I said at half time, the only way we're going to get something from this, we're going to have to start winning those battles with like Fatawu and players like that. And the nice thing was they all stepped forward and took extra on board second half, Chris. Because if we hadn't have done that, we'd had not a hope in hell of getting anything. So just to see the team's got that in them, irrelevant of the result, is actually a real positive step for our football club.
Yes, I mean, look, we lost James. No, we didn't. We lost Aaron Ramsey.
Yeah.
And you could argue, look, he was out to make an impression. He just had his first effort, and he had a very quiet game. I'm not going to lie. It was very disappointing up until that point. He may have been trying to impress. The grass was a bit wet because it was raining. You can make all the excuses up. There was no need to do that then because of where the ball was on the pitch.
On the pitch. Yeah, he got carried away, didn't he, mate, in the heat of the moment. I mean, luckily the boys bailed him out and made the best of a bad situation. But he put a nice post on Instagram to apologise. And really, mate, it's his first game. It's not as if he was doing it out of being petulant. He was trying to make a positive impression. So you've got to take that on board as well.
He's 22. He's been out for 18 months. He's come back this season, played a few games for Burnley. But he's what I still can't get over. And I don't want to go too much because we're doing the review show later. But, yes, I do know that, we'd got Jordan James came on.
Yeah.
But apart from that, these were all the players that Rude had last year.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
We even saw, the invisible man, Bobby DeCover-Reed.
We did. It's interesting, isn't it? Because it's sort of similar to what Man United are facing a bit this weekend. I'll bring it up now because I know we haven't got a news item on this, but obviously there's question marks over Manchester United after yesterday.
They have got any other news at the end.
Oh, okay. In which case I probably should go too. But I think it's an interesting comparison because their problem right now is the problem we had under Rude. I think their tactics are fine. They can't seem to find that extra motivation, and we couldn't find it under Rude either, could we? So I think that is a massive problem. It shows you how much that can affect football beyond just the tactics and quality of players alone.
Yeah. But no, we have the section at the end and in other news, and I picked the topics, but you might have some topics like that you want to bring up that I haven't covered, and we can, or if any breaking news, we can stick it in there. But I want to start with this because some teams, when they go down to 10, can actually win. And here we go. Leicester City women 1, Liverpool women 0. Van Egmont's debut strike seals Liverpool victory. I mean, I don't mean it seals a victory for Liverpool.
Yeah. You read that as if it's sealed a win for Liverpool, mate, yeah.
That is how it is written on the website, so don't go with me. That was a CMP thing, that was. But and I guess if you read it the right way, it does make sense. Yeah. I have to say, I was watching this, and had it not been a 12 o'clock kickoff, I would have probably done a watch-along. But that would have meant I'd have to start about 11:30. My radio show goes on till 10 a.m. On the Sunday morning. So I could, there was no way I could have really done it justice.
You couldn't squeeze a nap in there, could you, Chris? You need your naps.
No. And I'm up at 6. If anybody thinks I'm having an early nap, I am up at 6. But, thank you, sir. But... I have to say, look, we got trounced last week by Man United, 4-0. We haven't got a manager because we backed the lady that was there last season who did, I thought, rather well for us, but something going on behind the scenes. Apparently, we're after the guy that was at Burnley, who, funnily enough, used to be Liverpool manager.
All right, the circle of life.
Yes, yeah. Exactly. The Liverpool, now this might sound familiar, but Burnley had put him on gardening leave.
Right, yeah.
And because my Dan, my Burnley fan mate, messaged me, said, "What are you trying to do, pinch our manager?" And I said, "We don't want Scott Parker." And he said, No. But I have to say, last week we looked lost, and the guy that was in charge kind of didn't know what we're doing. And all right, Man United, we know they've got some good players, but this was a really good performance.
Yeah, it was very much similar to our one, wasn't it? At Oxford, in some ways. They had to show a bit of resilience and battle, and especially after a week, Chris, where they got an utter hammering last week. I think it was a very good performance. They showed a lot of quality. There was a very nice debut goal as well. And, for Leicester's women, it's very much they've got to try and now get away from that relegation battle, haven't they? And just get themselves out of that, and then we can start looking higher up the table. But I think signings like Van Egmond, Chris, are going to make that a lot easier. So hopefully, like you say, the next managerial appointment, things will keep trending up. But well done to them. A great, resilient, battling win, that.
Yeah, I think because it's all changing in the WSL next season, I think the bottom one probably gets relegated.
Yeah.
One comes up, and then the second and third, I think, have a playoff in the championship, and then they play whoever finishes 11th. So we actually need to do probably better than we've actually done since we got up and finished 10th. But that was a battle. And literally, when I was watching live, the commentators said, it's going to be interesting to see now how Leicester react. And she just finished saying that, and the header went in. She went, that's the way you react, you know.
Exactly. It was a great driving run, wasn't it, as well? Was it Tierney who ran through the middle? Great play.
Yeah, my favourite are Sam, but that's my problems. But no, I mean the chip across, and it was a bit like nobody was picking Van Egmond up, were they?
No, drifted into space. It was a real nice header as well. It just you're watching the ball, you're going, that's going in, isn't it? And it just looped in beautifully. It was a wonderful goal, and it really lifted the place as well, I think. Yeah.
Yes, totally. Right, let's get on in looking at the main news. And obviously we're rounding up the week here, so some of it isn't over the weekend. Ex-Leicester City and Nottingham Forest boss Cooper named Brøndby head coach. Now, and I'm going to come back to Cooper for the next couple of stories, but I'm actually really happy for him.
Yeah, I am as well, actually, Chris, because you look at where his career trajectory was heading towards, and unfortunately, I think he kind of put himself into a position now where the best job he's going to get is going to be at a championship team again. Not really for any fault of his own, because he's done pretty well at Forest and places like that. Obviously, Leicester didn't work out, but it's a sideways step list, and it's a sort of job where there's not a lot of money in these divisions at all, is there? But there's a lot of European football potentially on the table, and you've seen with teams like Bodo Glimt in Norway, if you've got a good manager in there who can bring something extra out of players, there's a lot to be gained from that. So I think it's a very good move for him, actually. I think fair play to him for taking on this sort of job. You can learn a lot from this.
Well, this is it, I mean, you look at somebody that we'll be talking about in a bit, at West Ham. He was out of the game for how long? If he'd maybe, not wanted the money that he was getting from Chelsea, he'd have taken another job. Reading here, this is a chance for him to develop as a coach. He will see another way of playing. I mean, he's gone to Brøndby. Now, interestingly, Brøndby had just sacked Frederick Kirk, who was sacked with the club at fourth in the Superliga after 4 games. Poor guy, and in comes Steve Cooper, who pretty much had the same last season. He says, and the director of football for Brøndby said he has a rare combination of youth and experience, vision and personality. Because you forget, he's only 45. I mean, he looks about 90.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's not his best asset, is it?
No. He said that he can lift both the individual player and the entire club to a new level. I tell you what this reminds me of a little bit, and that is Liam Rossigna.
Yes, yes.
Although he was doing well at Hull, but you can go to another country and suddenly Brøndby could be in Europe.
Yeah, they probably will be at some point.
Yeah, and you've got to say, it's a chance for Cooper to not necessarily rebuild his career, but he may look at that and go, I'm really happy here. I've got a team that's in Europe. I haven't got the British press on me back all the time.
It's the sort of job that can really give you an extra step up in your further managerial career, because the difference in these clubs is going to be tactics and management, because the players and the quality you get to draw from and the money you got involved in their game is all the same, isn't it? So I think the fact he's got experience with under-21s England coaching as well, that'll be something that's attractive to them, because But unlike Leicester, where he didn't use the academy as probably much as he should have done, he had the capability and the knowledge to do it. At Bromby, he's going to have to, right? So that's going to be interesting to see the effect of that on it as well. But no, I'm excited because it's good to see an English manager take a job abroad as well. It's not something that's normally commonplace, is it, Chris?
No. Brad's in. Hi, Brad. Awful gamer, and I was watching him yesterday doing his I can't think what it's called, Bandicoot, whatever it's called.
Crash Bandicoot.
Crash Bandicoot. And believe you me, that name that he's given himself is very apt. Sorry, Brad. Sorry, mate. He said a better Hamilton is glad he's no longer there. Interestingly, on Saturday, his first game in charge of Brøndby was against Copenhagen.
Oh, that's the biggest game you can get, isn't it?
Who are top of the league.
Yeah. Celtic of that division nowadays.
Yeah, and we are, obviously we remember them because we had them in the Champions League.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we've got a nice tie. And obviously Casper's got ties there, hasn't he? So
yeah. And do you know what the final score was?
I haven't looked, mate, but I'm going to guess a draw.
Well, if you'd gone for a Desmond,
yeah,
you'd have been wrong because it was 2-1 to Brøndby.
Wow, new manager bounce working straight away. Who said Steve Cooper's not inspirational? Was it us Leicester fans? I don't know. But well done to him. No, for all the banter, that's a really good start, isn't it? Because that's the sort of thing you've got to try. You've got to try. It's like the Scottish League, isn't it? You've got to try and break the dominance of Celtic somehow. Yes, yeah.
I mean, they got a penalty at the end of the first half, Brøndby. Copenhagen came back. And then they got the winner after 73 minutes. So fair play to them. Fair play to them on that, and fair play to Steve. I mean, look, we remember our first game with him. We did well against Tottenham. So let's not sort of jump to conclusions. But
I was going to say, I can't wait to see that when they got Brøndby versus Tottenham in Europa League and they frustrate Spurs to a 0-0 draw.
That will be good. That will be good. Right. I want to go back a bit because before we talk about this weekend's decisions, Nottingham Forest sacked Nuno Espirito Santo and replaced him with Ange Postecoglou. Look, I'm going to say first of all, I wasn't Nuno's biggest fan.
Yeah. Okay.
He did okay at Wolves. Well, he did very well at Wolves.
Well, he did very well at Wolves, yeah.
Yeah, he did very well at Wolves. Towards the end, it kind of went off. He was onto a hiding to nothing at Spurs, let's be honest with you. You go in there, you take the money. I mean, the joke was on Spurs more than him. But when he went to Forest, taking over a side that Steve Cooper had kept up, with the points deduction, let me just say, he kept them up. I had this, and then obviously the next season, the Ogre again only just stayed up again, but I think Nuno had to use Steve's players. Again, how have we heard that? It's coming up, Brad. And you've then got a position where I actually had him finishing 20th.
I did as well, Chris.
In Forest, yes.
Yeah,
and look, I know it's Forest, but I've got to say, well done to them for last season.
Yeah, they were superb.
He got a tune out of the players. And look, I know, there's obviously the rivalry with Nottingham Forest, but I remember not a lot of Nottingham Forest fans being so happy for us when we won the Premier League. And, I have to say the other side, I was so glad that because them getting for Europe meant one of the big six wasn't.
Yeah.
So he had a brilliant season last season, all down to him. Well, not all down to him, but obviously he was in charge. And then he has this falling out with the owner from hell.
Yeah, that's what the bizarre thing is, because, the thing about life in general is sometimes you might not get on with your management or you might not get on with your staff, but as long as they're doing their jobs to the top end of their game, what's wrong, right? There's nothing particularly wrong. And this is quite a departure of an appointment, Chris, isn't it? It's changing up Nuno's specific style, which I would agree with you, doesn't make him my favourite manager in the world either. But when he executes it well, look at Wolves and Nottingham Forest. Now they managed to compete well above their station, with all due respect to them, right? So I was very surprised the owners let his personal thing get into the way of this, because it's almost like they were looking for the first result to have an excuse to fire him. Do you know what I mean? It was kind of a bit like that, how this is all unfolding, how quick it was with Ange coming in. I was quite surprised. I was surprised he didn't go for Mourinho, because he was talking about wanting to come back to the Premier League of a lower down club. And I thought, you're going to do this, I would get it for Mourinho, because I kind of think it's not too much of a departure either. There's still enough of the original ideas from Nuno he would bring. But Ange is a completely different style of football. So there's a big gamble for me, Chris, for Nottingham Forest.
Well, let me just say, and I did say to you that I'd come back to Cooper. This reminds me very much of Van Nistelrooy coming in after Cooper. A different style, but you can't bring any players in. I mean, it happened, was it 4 games in or something? It happened, or 3 games in even, possibly, with the Premier League. So, it's not quite Cooper, because Cooper was 12, obviously. But when I kind of saw the highlights of Forest playing Arsenal, what a game for an ex-Spurs boss to have for his first game.
Yeah.
I mean, Arsenal, they ran rings around them.
They did, yeah, and it's going to take a long time for Ange to get his team playing the way he wants them to play as well. And like you say, the personnel, Chris, the personnel Nottingham Forest have, especially at the back, are big, big bastards, aren't they, really? So if you're going to try and play a more progressive system out from the back, Ange likes a high line of football, you might get yourself in trouble before you know it. So I'll say, out of all the things I've seen this week, this is the most worst bit of decision making I've seen from a football club, because Nottingham Forest, with all due respect, are never going to compete trying to play systems like Arsenal. You're not, I'm afraid. Like Leicester wouldn't. You're better off trying something else, lads, to get you into Europe.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it was a weird choice. Brad says when the owner loses the plot, the club's downfall is never far behind.
Don't we know it?
Yes, exactly. And look, all the criticism that we've given Top, and in fairness, he deserved a lot of the criticism. I mean, I've never called for him to get out or anything like that, but I've criticised him. But he's never lost it, has he?
No, exactly. That's it. No. He's the thing with Top is ultimately we seem to get the right decision in the end. It's just sometimes it's a little bit elongated and a bit difficult, isn't it? And it also, but it's kind of a different situation. I think Top's relationship with the fans isn't good right now, and it needs to be more open and honest. Whereas the owner's relationship with Nottingham Forest is quite good with the fans, irrelevant of even this, appointment change, Chris. But how long will that last? Like Brad's put in the comments there and the chat, like you say, I'd put them now as maybe one of the favourites to go down. How about you?
Yes. I think so. I mean, the joke going around social media at the moment is Andrew always wins something in his second season. Championship. Yeah, exactly. Like I say, I think Mourinho would have made the better option, like you say.
I think so. I think if you're looking for European success as well, I know Ange won it last year, but Mourinho is very pragmatic and he doesn't just stick to one way. He's shown on his tactical vision how to beat Barcelona, and it was a very specific thing he would do. He would bring that to him. So I was really surprised, Chris. It was the only logic I could think of why you would do it is if you had Mourinho there who was like, right, this guy will keep us in the European places and get us competing for these European honours, right?
I don't think that Marinakis would have accepted Mourinho, because I think Mourinho would have stood up to him and answered him back. Now, I'm not saying that Ange won't, but he doesn't strike. I mean, he's a rough Australian, if you like, but Mourinho's more likely to say, it's my way or the highway. A completely odd one. Again, I'm going to say we will come back to this story in a tad. But next up, let me just have a look and bring the next story up. I've got too many windows open.
We always have that problem, don't we, guys? We're all there with 20 windows open right now, probably.
Yeah. This is the one from the news. Yes, Brad, we hadn't, but we had coming up because of the timeline. Sheffield United sack Ruben Sellers as head coach after just 3 months in charge. Chris Wilder to return for a third time. Super, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Chris Wilder landing at Sheffield Airport. I mean, look, Ruben Sellers had to go. Let's be honest with you. I mean, when you're talking about starts of the season, Steve Cooper looked like, Pep Guardiola compared to this guy. And I'm going to say, it was a weird decision again, and we won't know what's gone on behind apparently it was a mutual decision to Chris Wilder to go. I think that was more likely a case of, if you want your money, let's say it's mutual, and, because the fans love Chris Wilder. And why not? He's done well for them in twice. I mean, look, losing in a playoff final, it was a close game. There's just no excuse. I mean, look at how Leicester did when we lost to Watford. Next season, we came back and batted the ball out the park, didn't we?
Yeah, it's a strange logic, Chris, isn't it? Because you'd think you got to the final. Surely now you just want to reinforce everything you've done that season and add some more players into the mix, and you probably get automatics, wouldn't you?
Yes, yeah. I mean, if we have a look at Sheffield United's games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He starts off with oh dear, Brad, dear. Bang Bus was at Glasgow at the weekend. You read into that what you will. Started off against Bristol City, losing 4-1.
Yeah.
At home. Then lost to Birmingham 2-1. And then 3-1-0 defeats to Swansea, Millwall and Middlesbrough. Now, all right, you can say 1-0 were the tight games. I don't know. I didn't watch them. And then Ipswich come along on Friday. Now, the week before, against Middlesbrough, I had predicted 5-0 to Middlesbrough.
Yeah, you had.
I thought, I'm going to have to rein that in. I think I went 2-1 or something.
You need to protect your predictions for 2 weeks' time, Chris. So when you do this week, change it for the week after.
Exactly. But I mean, that sticks them at the bottom of the championship table. I mean, there was no argument for him not going, was there?
Well, I think the only thing I could think of that maybe led to his departure was there's a few incidences towards the end of the season where he was getting into it with fans in the stands and stuff. It happened down at Plymouth, I believe, after Plymouth got some points off them. So there's a little few things like that. But I'd have argued, actually, it might be when Nigel Pearson was taking the pressure off our players by saying things in press conferences. So it was probably actually a helpful distraction to his team, oddly. But yeah, that seemed to not go down too well. And then it was quite a dramatic shift. I mean, Ruben Sellers has got a good reputation, of course, but, tactically he's different. He's got different ideas than Wilder. And when you're so close, Chris, why is it to burn down the entire building now when you've literally one step out of the Premier League, when you could take 2 steps forward and guarantee yourselves there the next season, like you say? So it was a very bizarre one, and people will kind of feel like they got what they deserved a bit here.
Yes. It's not updated that. I did he have a good reputation though?
Well, I think he every time he's gone to a club, he's been really spoken well of, hasn't he? So I think there's something there. He's probably got a good agent as well. I mean, Russell Martin got the Rangers job, didn't he?
Ask a Southampton fan that. Because 17 games at Southampton, 1-2, a win rate of 11.76%. At Hull, it was 32. Reading, fair enough, 78 games at Reading, 42% win rate. I was like, I think when I think of Ruben Sellers, I don't think of a good manager.
I think of a mid-table championship manager. Would that be right?
No.
Mid-table? No, not even that.
No, not even that. I mean, it was embarrassing because he was in charge of Southampton in the Premier League. Were they in the Premier League then? I'm not sure.
I can't remember when it was, Chris, to be honest. No, it's a very good question. I must be honest, I probably should have a bit more due diligence on this guy. But yeah, it's a strange appointment.
23, 24, 25. It probably was when they were. Yeah. Anyway, I know Southampton fans, it was a joke, and he only had 17 games in charge. But why? I mean, Chris Wilder must be writing his own paycheck.
I was going to say, it must be getting at least double what he was on before, because surely that's the way you'd make it up to him. Now you go, we're doubling your paycheck to make sure you come back, right? They're lucky he's not gone elsewhere, obviously, in the meantime, because, he could have taken an opportunity somewhere else and they'd be right up the creek now, wouldn't they? And what would they do? So it's about buy-in as well, isn't it? I don't know how you can, as a chairman of a football club, look at a group of players that have had a really good season and got unlucky on the final day, and then go, right, we're completely changing this, lads. They would have felt like they had a good year last year. Do you know what I mean, Chris? And then to have to face all this new upheaval and that, I'm not surprised at all. It's been that unsettling for them and dropped them to the place where against Ipswich they looked absolutely terrible.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They were awful.
I had it on and I was watching this and I'm thinking that every time they went forward Ipswich, you thought they were. And in fairness, in the first half, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. I think it was 1-0 at half time, wasn't it, or something? It wasn't too bad. But the second half, they just capitulated, and every time Ipswich went forward, I thought they were going to score.
There were signs of a team that's trying to buy into it, but couldn't actually buy into it, if you know what I mean. Sort of what's going on at Man United a little bit. They just couldn't execute it. As soon as a bit of pressure came, they folded.
Yeah. Us under Rude. Brad has seen my notes because he's asking me all questions for things that are coming up. So, not ignoring you, Brad, but you're just having premature questions, as they say. Look, for a team, when you are bottom of the league, which they are, no points at all, on -11, sitting above them, albeit with only 1 point, it's your big city rival, Sheffield Wednesday, and who've got a point.
Yes.
And they've only got -9. And look at the trouble that Sheffield Wednesday are in, and you're below them.
Yeah, and it feels harsh. Sheffield Wednesday have only got a point. I think they've shown a lot more battle on that. They deserve more than what they've got, really. So, yeah, it's lucky they're not further adrift, really, is it? But it makes sense now to try and fix the situation as quick as possible, doesn't it? Because you're looking at a Sheffield United team, even with no points now, Chris, they still could get automatic promotion. It's that sort of division of championship. Roy Keane did it with Sunderland. Bottom of the league took them up. So it's not about precedent.
No, Cooper did it with Forest, didn't he?
Yes, he did, yeah. And I'll say this to Sheffield United as well. I mean, I think actually, if they do just own up and fess up and bring him back in and make sure he's compensated well, I actually think that'll be a good look for their supporters, because I think it shows, well, we've made a mistake, but we're not going to just completely ignore Wilder exists now when he could be the easiest way to fix ourselves in a situation. So I'll credit them for actually doing that. But the appointment in the first place, Chris, was incredibly daft. And we talk about owners being a bit too trigger happy with firings, looking at Forest this week as well, and you go, perhaps there's something the LMA needs to do about this, because it is a little bit treacherous, isn't it, for managers at the moment?
Yeah. Right. If you want to, Brad, ask a question about Graham Potter, now's your time, because he's coming up one after next.
We'll quickly answer, Brad, and say I think it's Russell Martin, but go back to the point.
Yeah, Russell Martin. Who knew that was coming up, eh? Has Russell Martin lost the ball's backing to turn Glasgow Rangers around? That is the question. Now, we were so happy when Russell Martin got that job.
Yeah.
Now, whether he was ever in line, I don't think he was ever in line at Leicester. When you look at how things have played out, I think we'd been talking to Marty for a long time, because I don't think that Marty situation happened that quickly. I think it'd been there. But this guy, we were so happy that we'd actually dodged a bullet, if you like. Yeah, I mean, who's had the worst start? I mean, on paper, you'd have to say it was Sellers.
Yeah.
But Martin, I think he's... I mean, the crowd... I mean, it's funny, the top two teams, the Celtic fans are revolting against the board. It has to be said, not against Brendan Rodgers. They are doing it against the board. But the Rangers fans, they want this guy gone.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Yeah, I think it is a worse job what's going on at Rangers because their result of the weekend was the first time in a decade they lost to Hearts, wasn't it, at home? Which
Yes,
sums
something
up,
like
which sums up how bad the situation is. As for the board's backing, I think the board's backing is what's kept him here this long, to be honest. And I think it probably would have already happened with the pressure from the fan base. I'm pretty sure it's Kevin Felwell, isn't it, or who's one of the directors there, or one of a director of football or something. I'm probably wrong. He's in a position there, but he's a real big fan of Russell Martin. What's interesting about Russell Martin, Chris, is that I'm going to say he's this incredibly unlikable. And for some managers, that can be a fine thing to have. And it's a weird thing to say.
what you think.
But he is. He comes across and he's just so unlikable. I mean, I don't think it helps you when your connection with the fans is like that. If you are the best manager in the world and you're one of one, then yeah, be the most unlikable guy in the room. You've got a reason to be. But when you're not, and when you're a young emerging manager, I think he just comes across really prickly, and I don't think that really helped his cause either. I can see why the fans are upset, but he's terrible, isn't he? Terrible job.
He's trying to be Jose Mourinho, who you could hate for his cockiness and what have you, but he had the trophies to back it up.
That's it. You've got to put the work in to be able to be like that. You can't just assume it.
Every right to say he was the special one. Maybe it was a bit early, but he went on to prove it right. Look, that table there. I can't really see it. So Aberdeen are bottom, which is again maybe that's a surprise. Dundee are 11th. Now Rangers are 10th. Now, let's say there's only 5 games into the season, although Aberdeen have only played 4. They've got to play Dundee or Hibs. I'm not sure which one, or Falkirk to catch up. But Dundee, are usually down there. They're a sort of up and down sort of club. There is only 5 games played. They've got 4 points. Now, can I just say that the team in third, which is Hibs, have only got 6 points.
Yeah, it's congested.
It is. It's only 2 points more. But when they sit there, played 5, won 0, drawn 4, lost 1, they've got a -2 goal difference. Look right up at the top of the table, and who's there? Oh, Celtic on 13 points. And now there's the big gap. Not the fact that they are, 2 points off third, and third would be not good enough for Rangers. Hearts are in second with 13 as well. They're one of my 2 Scottish teams, Hearts. I've got 2 Scottish teams. They're one of them. So come on, you Jambos.
Dundee United, they're mine. They're mid-table, aren't they?
Dundee are fit, actually. Yeah. Dundee United are fit. My other one I don't talk about because they're not in the Premier League. But I do like Hearts. Basically, because purple's one of my favourite colours. That's the only reason.
That's so funny. I'm wearing that today for Hearts by mistake as well. But yeah. No, it's a long way. They're not going to win the league now, are they, Chris? That gap already is way too big after 5 games.
Yeah, 9 points. They have got to win 3 games more than Celtic, and probably got to say 4 because of the goal difference.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I mean, the Celtic problems right now are interesting because they're the same problems Brendan had with us a little bit. He wants more money, doesn't he? But he's already spent a lot. I mean, Celtic aren't in a position, any different to Leicester back in those days. You're not going to get 20 million quid a year to spend, Brendan. That's not the way the football finances in Scotland work. So I find it remarkable how he's getting himself pinned into the same corner he's been pinned in before when things have fallen down. So the interesting thing about this is if Rangers make a big decision now and get him out the door pretty quick and bring someone in like a Gerrard, maybe Beale alongside him, I still think they can win the league, Chris, because I don't think Celtic are on stable ground. Controversial. I know normally they'd win it from here by a long way, but when you're relying on Kelechi Iheanacho, who was quite unfit last season and not looking very good at all, as your main leading man, I'm not sure you've got the legs anymore.
No, but he did actually score the winner for them.
He did, to be fair. They didn't even spell his name right for the pleasure, did they? Which was quite amusing. The back of his shirt was incorrect. But no, well done to him. But I do find it interesting. I do think they're quite susceptible, Celtic, but I just think it shows you how it's taken the pressure off them because Rangers have been so much worse. So I would be surprised if we last another week.
I don't know why the fans are so against the Celtic board, to be honest with you, because you won virtually everything last season, as you always do, and you're top now. I mean, Kevin says a really good point there. You don't go to Scotland to further your career. you go to Scotland just to start your career off, maybe. And, like, talking of Hearts, of course, we had a Hearts manager come down to Leicester, didn't we, Mr. Levine?
We did. And one of their strikers.
Yeah. Oh God, don't go there. But I met Craig Levine, and outside of football, he was really, really nice. So my son was a match day mascot, and he was brilliant with him. But you don't go to Rangers and then after 5 games get them into 10th place.
No, it's funny, isn't it? Because his agent's done a great job of trying to manipulate himself into the best job possible. That was what the Leicester rumours were this summer. It was all leverage to try and get this job, right? And he got it. But now the reality is he's not been able to deliver. And, he's got some strong visions and strong ideas of what he wants his football team to do. And when it was firing with Southampton, there was some success there in the original days. But he's so stubborn, I would say. And I think he needs to learn that sometimes you need to be able to be a bit more negotiable about yourself and what you're doing. And now he's working himself into this situation. I mean, it's one of those where I'm going to be fascinated the more weeks it goes on how bad this could get, because I don't see them potentially winning a game but anything on the pitch apart from luck at the moment. They looked really poor, similar to Sheffield United against Ipswich. When you watch the Hearts game, the Hearts were just getting through them. They weren't there. There was no backbone. There was no resilience. And the players obviously not buying into him either then, Chris, are they?
No. I'm just looking here. It was 2-0 to Hearts, wasn't it? That on that one, Celtic winning 2-1 with the injury time penalty. I just think I think he took that job because it's Glasgow. So you're going to be whether it's Rangers or Celtic. So you're going to be in a case of that you're going to get European football because you should finish second. Obviously, you do want to win it, and you got the Celtic thing. But I think he maybe took it just for ease because he thought, I'll go there and it's Glasgow. I'll get at least second. And
I think he probably took it because it is a big challenge. Because the big challenge is, the rewards if you win the league there are massive, aren't you? You're a hero. You're a local hero. You've got European football and all the rest of it. And they're very passionate supporters. The problem with very passionate supporters is they're not going to be very patient when you're 10th after 5 games, because that for Rangers. Rangers is not a job like Manchester United, for example, where you've got 20 games to lose 20 games to get yourself into the position to get them winning. You haven't got that opportunity. You have to hit the ground running, and he's not done it. No,
he hasn't. I would say, and I always say this when everybody says about Steven Gerrard going back to Rangers, most Rangers, say no. In a survey, one person that was asked to express his opinion said, no, he would never have Steven Gerrard back at the club. He'd have Beale back.
I wouldn't without Beale, because Beale was the brains. It was like Clough and Taylor. You don't want them on their own.
No, exactly. And he said when they did have the success for that one season under Gerrard, it was all Beale that did it.
Yeah. Heavily rumoured, wasn't it? Yeah, but he come back as well, and that didn't end too well either, did it? On his own. So.
He went to
a few places, QPR.
Rangers or something. Yes,
yeah. And interesting one. They're both really. Sorry, I was saying they both really suited each other as a tag team, didn't they, Chris? You see, they're both away from each other, haven't done so well. Back to your point. Sorry.
No. I'm basically going to say the same as you said. Peter Taylor and Clough, neither of them are any good on their own as managers. And I'll come back to you and say, Nigel, and I know Nigel Pearson's one of your favourites, but the reason I wouldn't have him back is because Craig Shakespeare, rest in peace, is no longer with us. Again, as a two, they were brilliant together. What has Nigel Pearson, and I love Nigel Pearson to bits, but what has he managed to do since he split with Craig Shakespeare? Nothing.
He has produced Andy King as a very good coach for us.
Time will tell. Let's not get ahead of us.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, he's not had a solid assistant.
On the pitch, what has he done?
Yeah, I would say his career has gone a little bit backwards. I'd agree. You can't argue that.
Yeah. So sometimes, like you say, despite what Bruce Forsyth gets, where he used to say, you don't get anything in this game for a pair. Yes, you do with football, because I think sometimes they go, and if Gerrard and Beale got back together and did well, maybe that would work. But I think this guy, he's I believe that Sellers has had the worst start. I'd only go for Beale because, oh God, for Beale. I'd only go for Martin because of the size of the club.
Yeah, and just for the things he's achieving right now, which are records that Rangers fans don't want to see being broken at the wrong end of record breaking, right?
It is. And I can say it's a place you go to try and rebuild your career. Unfortunately, he's just dug an even bigger hole in it. And maybe he has to go down to a League One club or something and rebuild his career that way.
He might make a good pundit. I'm not trying to say he should give up football management, but the way he comes across, he's a bit of a character, isn't he? He's a bit of a Roy Keane element, so maybe he'd be a better pundit. Not trying to say, there's something there.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a Leicester game and he was punditering on that. Yeah, controversial, but that's what you want your pundits to be.
Exactly, yeah, definitely. It probably doesn't translate so well to a big football club that's already filled with its own ideas of what makes them successful, and then the young guy comes in, bossing everyone around. It doesn't go well.
Yes, yeah. Right, the last of our main stories. There you go, Brad. Stick together, says Potter, but will Graham Potter get more time at West Ham United? I've got a couple of West Ham mates on YouTube. Jake from West Ham Unofficial and a couple of others as well. And they absolutely hate this guy.
Yeah.
Let's not forget the scenes last season where the fans were all walking out at half time. We all thought they were going for a brew, but no, they were walking out because I forget who they were playing, they were getting stuffed. So it isn't just this season where he's, he hasn't got the excuse now that he's come in and, well, I'm stuck with the players that the last guy left. Yeah. Because he's had the transfer window. They absolutely hated Hermansen because, the first couple of games didn't go so well for them. Again, I'm going to say here, we dodged a bullet, maybe.
I think so. I think there's something I've noticed about Graham Potter now, and that is when he's at a club like a Brighton, where it's a well-oiled machine and the philosophy at the top down to the bench, right? He does really well. As soon as he goes to a club where there's a bit of a challenge there, where there's different ideas, or they're bigger clubs like Chelsea and West Ham, that he doesn't seem to be able to back up his own vision on his own. You see what I mean? And it seems to be a little bit lackluster and uninspiring. And West Ham have got a lot of problems off the pitch, haven't they, as well, which is no doubt making his job more difficult. I think he should get more time because I don't think he's had long, but I will say it's been uninspiring, Chris. And when you're a manager going into a football club, similar to Steve Cooper at Leicester, this, isn't it? He wasn't necessarily, I mean, there's still enough about them where you think they might get a point or two here and there, but they're definitely going to be worse than last year. But it's not inspiring, is it? And West Ham are a bit uninspired as a fan base generally, I think, after all the stadium talk and stuff. So, yeah, there we go. We'll see how it pans out, but not very good so far.
Well, talking about people walking out, for the second successive home game at the London Stadium this season, West Ham have finished with many of their fans having left long before the final whistle. It didn't help that they lost 3-0 to Tottenham. Interestingly, who was in goal for that one?
I think it was Hermansen, it was, yeah. But they signed Fabianski back to do a Sheffield United, haven't they? Because he left and now he's 40 and they've signed him back on a free transfer again, which shows a concern.
Well, it does. I mean, they had Areola, who, I mean, when I was watching one of Jake's shows, he when they were talking about getting Hermansen in, they were saying that he'd be coming in as a number 2.
Yeah, Areola's done okay, hasn't he?
Yes, but obviously Hermansen's come in, and in fairness, you would look at him and look at his career at Leicester and go, you know what, they've got a bargain there.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Now, you could argue that no matter how good a goalkeeper is, if the defence in front of him is shit, he's got no chance. But all I would say too worse to that is Danny Ward.
Yes. That's come up chumps for Leicester, hasn't it? They've been moaning about Connor Cody as well now, Chris. It's all come up chumps for Leicester on that one.
Yeah. Thank you, Wrexham. I love the cheer. I love the cheer that I don't know who they played at the weekend. Was it QPR? And the fans were singing all that money and you're still shit.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, they might be sacking their manager. Next week's show, guys, might be talking about the Deadpool change.
Yeah. But look, so going back to Potter, I mean, you know, they were screaming at Hermanson for the first 2 games. They brought Areola back in for the cup game. They still lost that. And we joked at the time, and when we said, well, there you go, Brad, he may well be. When, you know, we were, I don't think we considered him this time. I think Top had learnt his lesson, you know. I'm not going to go back and ask that girl out again. She's turned me down 3 times. But obviously he was getting linked with us, as he annually did. And a few people were saying, you know, maybe he's been out of football a bit too long.
Yeah, there was a bit of that, wasn't it? Because he's come in and it's sort of, I keep coming back to the word uninspiring, Chris, you know? I mean, the thing about Graham Potter and what he was good at Brighton was seeing some very positive, well-organised pressing football. And West Ham don't seem to have that life in them at all, do they? So it suggests to me, like you say, he can't translate his vision across to the group of players, you know? And yeah, sometimes actually, I think it is like riding a bike a bit, football. I think if you have been sat on the sidelines, and may I say, I would have sat on the sidelines like he had, because you're going to get more money doing that than you are, you know, actually going out there and perhaps getting another job. And also you can use the time to go and actually improve your skills and go watch other coaches perhaps. But I appreciate that's going to be a divisive one. You might not agree with that. But there is an effect, like you say, and maybe it's a little bit, you know, a bit dry now, isn't it, on the same notion? But it's amazing to me how I think the effect of off the pitch isn't helping West Ham either. Ultimately, they don't want to be in that stadium. They want a new stadium, which is never going to happen now, is it? So this is a problem which is going to resonate through the football club from the fans themselves. So he's actually gone a bit of a hiding to nowhere, even if he did start picking up some results, just where the club is, Chris.
No, I agree. And can I say 2 words to you?
Okay.
Eddie Howe.
Yes.
When he was, he wasn't sacked by Bournemouth, I'm going to say, because Bournemouth didn't want him to go. But he felt he'd taken Bournemouth as far as he could. Right, so he's had been with Bournemouth. He came in when they were dropped 17 points in the 4th tier.
I remember.
He kept up, and that was the season I moved down to Bournemouth. But I can remember the players with the buckets collecting money outside the pavilion. And he guided them to the Premier League, and he kept them in the Premier League. That season that we won that lovely trophy behind me, he kept them in the Premier League. They went down, they stuck with him, and he brought them back up again. He agreed to leave, and they said, look, maybe I need a change, I've been here too long, whatever. And he, when he stood down, went all around Europe, and it might have been further afield, and spent time at these football clubs with the managers, obviously with their agreement, to learn and to pick things up.
Yeah, I think he went to Real Madrid for one.
Quite possibly, quite possibly. Then what happens is Newcastle come knocking on his door, and I will say he's doing a bloody good job at Newcastle. Look, he's got them the first trophy since Attila the Hun.
Newcastle was similar to West Ham. If they got rid of Eddie Howe, I actually think they'd be surprised at how little they've got. He's maximising what they've got, and they haven't got a lot, really.
No, and the problem is because they're playing by the rules. You know, I think he's done well. Like I say, he's won them the trophy. They've been in the Champions League. You know, so fair play to him. Potter said, "No, I want the cash. Thank you very much."
Yeah, true. But we don't know if he went around or not. I think he probably did go around and keep himself busy on the same notion. But it is kind of different when it's Chelsea.
I think he would have come out if he had done.
May I say, if it was a smaller football club who really needed the cash, I would probably view it a bit differently. Do you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't want to be leaving as a manager who'd already upset the fan base and then was financially crippling them, Ruud van Nistelrooy. But anyway, Graham Potter, I think, you know, at Chelsea, it's a different kind of thing because Chelsea have just got so much money. You kind of go, well, they are going to pay for me, you know?
Yes, yeah. Right. Will he, and Brad mentioned this, and this is on the BBC this morning. West Ham are considering a move for Nuno Espirito Santo should they sack manager Graham Potter. Now, that's been reported by Alan Nixon, who is he's got 139,000 followers on.
Oh, so he's nearly got as many as you, Chris.
Yeah, well, I wish. No, I always look at that and think, like, is this guy a reliable source? And you have to say, yeah, I think when you got that many followers, you are. I'm not sure what team he follows, but look, I don't think that would be such a bad move. I think Nuno would be a better fit for West Ham than this guy is.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're seeing a level of performance from West Ham with this system that is going to get them to a 5 out of 10 at best, and maybe put them in potential relegation difficulty if they keep going with it, because there's a lot of teams playing this type of football, Chris, and if you haven't got the individual quality to make the difference, then you're going to lose a lot of games or draw a lot of games. I mean, so I think, to do something different with Nuno, going back to why I was surprised Forest even replaced him in the first place, would not be a bad move for West Ham. I think that's where they found the majority of their success in recent years, and I think they need to be a little bit careful here, because it's one of those where I think whatever decision they make next, I'm not sure what the right one is, to be honest. They are threatening their Premier League future at the moment. If they're not careful, they need to, make a strong decision here, especially with the board, who don't seem very engaged with what's going on with the fans and how to fix that either. It seems a bit like what happened with us at Leicester, doesn't it? Sliding.
Yeah, I think I think the clubs need to make a decision early before January, because you've got if you're going to sack somebody, don't do it after January, because they're not going to have anybody to bring anybody in at all, or even if you're Leicester, even if it's before January,
especially if you're changing style.
Yes, that's the thing, isn't it? As well, you've got to consider that. But I mean, look, four games this season. I mean, I can't use the same excuse for Nuno and Graham Potter, because they had last season as well.
Yeah, of course.
Season, so they hadn't got the excuse. Now, I've got to say that if you look at, you could argue Rude didn't get any of his own players in, etc., etc. And even with Steve Cooper, you could argue, well, he came in and he'd got no backroom staff left because Enzo had taken them all.
Yeah,
I just think sometimes, do we give managers enough notice? I mean, again, I'll say one word to you, Watford.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it, Chris. I think some managers, unfortunately, get a bit of a raw deal with the people they're working for, right? And I think West Ham would be one of those where they kind of strike me as, we got this target you've got to hit. This is all we're going to do, is going to let you do it. There's not really a connectivity, perhaps, between, the whole organisation. It's kind of like one man sat in the chair, David Sullivan, going, you're doing this, you're doing that, and then just seeing if it falls down or not. And there's a lot of that, isn't there? I wondered when it came to Marty coming in if we had a bit of a problem where it was going to be like that at Leicester, but Marty has really stepped forward and I think bridged the gap from his end. We've seen that in his interviews, the things he's gone out there doing. And I think if managers like Graham Potter haven't got that in them, which I don't think he does as a character because he's never had to bring it out of himself before, I think this is where his game gets caught a bit short. And I think his communication, his ability to bring the football club back together is going to be what's going to keep West Ham either moving forward or him losing his job.
And again, I'm going to go back to this. You sack a manager that's just won you a trophy.
Yeah, I mean, there's a horrible karma with that, isn't there? I mean, you've got West Ham fan friends as well, and actually, all of them I spoke to did want David Moyes to go. I think they kind of felt
Yeah.
his time had
Yeah.
passed. We did with Claudio. I said Claudio had to go when Claudio went. Everyone gave us stick for that, but we couldn't get relegated. We were going to get relegated. You don't need to must. You have to make the right. Yeah, you've got no choice. It's heartbreaking, but you've got to do it. But yeah, this one, I must be honest. It was funny how West Ham fans have said this, but myself included was looking at him going, I think you're being a bit silly, because I think actually he has overperformed with you, won you a European trophy, and look what he's doing now in Everton. That squad on paper is probably West Ham level, right? But they look twice as capable as West Ham do right now. So yeah, I think credit to David Moyes, and I think a lesson to be learned, like you're saying, giving managers a bit more time for the right reasons. And right now there seems to be not a lot of logic, Chris. Just we'll get rid of the manager because he's losing, or whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, oh God, took me a while there, Brad. Took me a while. You have. Oh yeah, we got the usual Twitch wanker in. Have you swallowed a joke book or what this morning, mate?
Someone's got to bring the humour. I'm still waking up.
Right. Let me just get rid of this guy.
Yeah. But he is right in this. What he's saying is stick together. Yeah, but he's got to be the guy, Chris, to bring them together. I see him going out there saying things in interviews, but it's not about bossing. It's about leading, and he needs to lead the stick together momentum he's talking about at West Ham, which I don't think he's quite got right so far.
Can I just say, Brad, I didn't realise that you were watching us via Twitch. I wasn't referring to you. I was referring to the spammer. Apologies if you thought. So, yes, and they don't like their owner again. So, I mean, I wanted David Moyes to come to Leicester when we,
me too.
at the end of last season. He was never going to come because he didn't want a relegation battle. But Everton had that draw for him. And look, he was... Everton are sat in 6th at the moment.
Yeah. I predicted them to be top 8. I predicted them top 8 this year.
Yeah, I mean, 1-2, drawn 1, lost 1. West Ham would love that. And look, he's done amazingly well at Everton, and good luck to him. Right, under this, any other news? You have, mostly by me, if I'm honest with you, Brad. But in other news, and I'll just quickly pull this up because Chelsea have admitted to 74 breaches, and in fairness to them, as much as I didn't know the full story when I last spoke about this. Fair play to them. They'd seen that they'd got this. They bought the club. And they went in and said, fuck, what's all this? And they reported it straight away. And you have to say fair play to them for doing that.
Yeah.
And that will probably work in their favour. So they'll probably just get... And you've got to say as well, is it fair to punish a club now that it's a different owner?
Yeah, previous ownership, different ways of doing things, isn't it? Yeah.
So, however... When it comes to PSR, FFP, whatever they're going to call it moving forward, there is no club like Chelsea for bending the rules, I don't think. When we say about Manchester City, yes, I know. But, Chelsea, they took Enzo from us. And I did question at the time the thoughts behind taking Kieran Dewsbury Hall for 30 million. And they gave him a 6-year contract, which meant they were going to pay $5 million a year. They then sold us Michael Golding, and what a purchase he was. We bought him for $5 million. So it basically meant that one season that Kieran Dewsbury Hall was at Chelsea, he cost them nothing.
Yes, that's right. Completely nothing.
No. Now, if you're not telling me that's some dodgy PSR thing, then I won't believe you. Now,
you want some other examples? There's many more.
Exactly. But Chelsea re-signed player. They sold to sister club Strasbourg just 34 days ago. In bizarre, this is the one you're thinking of. In bizarre.
Yeah, what did I say about KDH in the summer, Chris? I said we should sell him to Leuven and loan him back to us because that's what Chelsea would do. Look what they're doing.
Well, they didn't just loan this player back; they bought him back.
And sold him, yeah, exactly. But we should have done it with KDH. We never would have to lost him then.
Yeah, I mean, this was on the 22nd of September. This broke. I'm guessing this was possibly post window. What date did the window close?
Was it the first?
Was it? I thought it was the first. Yes.
Yeah, I thought it was.
This, you got this multi-ownership deals going on now. Look, yeah, I know. I've never heard of him either. Who is that man? So I think I saw Edward more than him.
It sounds like he should be hosting a one of those reality TV shows from a Las Vegas pawn shop.
Yes, indeed. I believe. Hey, I presume you mean PAWN.
Yes.
To make that clear, I love hardcore porn, and if I can just say, before anybody clips that it is a show on TV, and that is PAWN.
It's set in Detroit, isn't it? Yeah, set in Detroit.
Yes. You know the one. One.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Now, I don't have a problem that if you are part of a consortium of clubs, should you not maybe be allowed to swap players between?
Well, this is the difficult thing, isn't it? Because they don't want multi-club ownership, but it's something that's naturally happening in the same way we have corporations like Paramount now maybe buying out Warner Brothers or something in America, right? That's two big corporations coming together. And the same thing's happening with football because that's where a lot of the money for the ownership is coming from just smaller pots of people, right? So it's something they've got to get a grip on, Chris, because the solutions we have found where we are now is crazy, isn't it? Because the fact that I think UEFA could find Chelsea guilty of PSR charges for this season, but the Premier League didn't for exactly the same thing, shows us a massive rotten problem. Because how can it be different between the two? That's the Premier League going, we have less standards than UEFA. And that is a problem. It needs to be standardized to make sure it's fair for every club. And ultimately, you look at it and go, well, things like this are the reason why they've not had to do a Newcastle and been forced into selling more players, right? That's why they've had a squad of 40 players for about 3 seasons now, most of them in the reserves, some of them on 200 grand a week, some of them, which completely undermines the game. So it's something which needs to be resolved. PSR and FFP are the kind of dirty words now. There needs to be a new way to bring it in and get it sorted out, because you shouldn't put clubs in a position where the lower clubs are struggling and the big ones are cheating as well, because the big ones shouldn't have to cheat like this if the system was even entirely in their favour in the first place, right? So it's really weird. They've got to really sort it out and muck it out, but very complicated thing to do, understandably, as well.
Totally. Man United to remain patient with Amorim.
I think the right decision for the moment. People might disagree with me. I tell you what's interesting about it is I don't think Amorim's the problem. Once again, it's been proven the players and the attitude that's in that football club that's been systemic now for many managers is the problem, because I think his system that he's trying to do actually has a lot of merit to try and compete against the top end of the Premier League. It's different to what everyone else is doing. They lack commitment, Chris. They lack commitment because otherwise they'd have opportunities, but they've got a real attitude problem in that football club.
They do. And, you look how many managers have come in and failed. And the problem with Man United is I do honestly think they are bigger than they think they're bigger than they actually are. And it's something I keep. I'm old. I'm the BBC of pundits. I repeat myself a lot. But a lot of Man United fans weren't supporters, and probably a lot of them weren't even born pre-Alex Ferguson. So all they've known is success. And they did have the success, and Fergie was absolutely amazing. But look at Liverpool. They were as good as Man United pre that. They were the Man United, and how long it took them to win something again. But they weren't sacking managers over and over again. They get Ollie in, who gets them to second, and that's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, isn't it, Chris? Because the logo, obviously, of Manchester United, they're very similar to the Dallas Cowboys and the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that they're not the team they once were. They've not won something for 60-plus years, these teams, and Manchester United are heading down to the same path now. But the reality is their logo and their brand and their their image of Manchester United is worth commercially 10 times, maybe 100 times more than Leicester City's is, and it kind of always will be, unfortunately, probably because of the time they emerged into the pop culture element of the Premier League becoming popular in the mid-90s as well. But you're right, they've got to, in some ways, like you say, the players in particular. I don't think it's the coaches at Manchester United. The players need to look in the mirror and go, we aren't that club anymore. We might wear the Manchester United badge, but we make the Manchester United badge, and we've been making it very shoddy now for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Joan Rivers. Love her to bits, but my God, those facelifts aren't working, love. You know what I mean? It
shows you the image we have of ourselves, Chris, doesn't it? Because when you see some people get some face work done, you think, what in your mind made you think that would look good? It looks worse.
Kerry Katona. I mean, she looks like she's walked into a glass door. I
don't get it. It must be some sort of image dysmorphia or something. I think it's really sad, actually, because I kind of go, how can you make yourself look worse and believe you're looking better?
I mean, Jordan, we know about, obviously, her 2 of her operations, but she had her lips done. Have you ever seen Jordan's lips? I mean, you could go shopping with Jordan. You could lick her lips, stick her to a window, go and do your weekly shop, come out, and she'll still be stuck to the window,
Oh, God bless her. Yeah, but once again, mate, it's very bizarre, isn't it? It's kind of like what Manchester United is right now. A lot of fluff on the outside, but very little substance in the middle.
They've got, and I thought it would change under the new guy when he came and bought in, but he's more bothered about a couple of Christmas boxes rather than sorting the club out.
Yeah, I think the thing they're going to need to do, and they'll get to this point in the end, they're going to need to get someone like a Bielsa in, someone who's literally going to rag those players half to death and back to get something more out of them, because they look to me like a team that you're literally getting 5 out of 10s every week on the training pitch, and that is like getting blood from a stone to get to a 5, let alone a 10 you need to down the line. So I'd say a Bielsa for them would really sort them out, someone who's going to work them.
Yeah, I think you've definitely got a case at Man United of the players think they're bigger than the club and the manager, as well. Because none of these managers that have come in have been bad managers at where they were previously. What does that tell you? But we'll end with this one. You did mention it earlier on, and who knows, we could be talking about it a lot. But you got to have a laugh at Wrexham, haven't you?
Yeah, you do a little bit. I mean, they've gone out there and spent a lot of money, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney little group that's organising this handle this situation, because they have invested, £20+ million in a playing squad in the Championship from League One. That isn't a small chunk of change, Chris. That is the sort of money you go, well, we're expecting not to get relegated, So I'm going to be intrigued to see what happens this week and the week afterwards. I don't think it'll be this week we'll see a change as to how they handle that, because they're very much on family, looking after each other and bringing in certain players, right? But when that's under pressure now, when you want to go further than what this group can apparently achieve, how you handle it's going to be very interesting, isn't it? So, interesting week. I still had a funny feeling at the start of this season they might be in relegation trouble, and they've done nothing to disprove me that so far.
Okay, can I read this to you? Because they have dropped into the bottom 3.
Yeah.
And he did take Tom Hanks on with him to watch the game, did Ryan Reynolds, and it was a bit of an embarrassing. But this is what it says. Wrexham have shipped 10 goals at a rate of 2 per game. To expect to score 3 every week to have any chance of winning 3 points is simply unrealistic. Phil Parkinson questioned his side's defensive setup at the weekend. Now, these are margins at this level, 5 yards can punish you. And that's just like saying, when you've got a goalkeeper like Danny Ward and a defender like Connor Cody, you're going to ship goals.
Yeah, it is a little bit, isn't it? You think Connor Cody they spent £2 million for as well, and the Wrexham fans, like I said, have gone on their board and had a look. Yeah, they're not saying anything we weren't saying last year, which shows you really how it goes. And then you can go back to Tom Gannon of Sheffield United as well, and you think, how rare is it in recent memory, Chris? We've had some positivity coming out of our transfers, because normally it's the opposite way around.
Totally. I mean, what was I going to say? I saw on a thing on a Wrexham board where the guy was on a video it was on TikTok where the guy was absolutely ranting about how bad Danny Ward was.
Yeah. I'm sorry, we can't excuse it. He's not good.
And my comment of welcome to our world didn't go down too well. But Tom Cannon, and we were all shouting, and this was going back a while ago. I think it was on Sky as well, that Leicester were the winners in that deal.
Yeah, it was a lot of money, wasn't it?
10 million for him. He came with the reputation of being good because of his season at Preston.
Yeah.
Brought him in, and for some reason, Enzo, who was the manager when we brought him in, didn't like him.
He had a major back injury, didn't he, after that? And I think since that back injury, he's not really come to fruition as we expected. Because we signed him with a broken back, Chris. He had a broken back when we signed him.
Well, I didn't know it was his back. I know he was injured. But, Cooper didn't fancy him. Ruud van Nistelrooy didn't fancy it, although he'd gone, I think, by then, hadn't he? And you've got to say, and I saw him break through, and he had well, let me put it this way. His finish was Dakar-esque.
Dakar-esque. We're not talking Moscow in that one game many, many moons ago now either.
No, we're not. No. The Rose-Ed Dakar, as we like to call him.
But the Mark de Vries.
Oh, you got to love Mark for that goal against Tottenham, and he scuffed that, let's be honest with you. But,
I remember in the warm-up, he kicked one out the frigging stadium. I thought, we're in for one today, lads, aren't we? Jesus.
But, look, there's anything you want to bring up?
No, not really. I was going to talk about the Manchester United stuff. Obviously, there's talk about the EFL playoffs changing. I'd leave this to something to maybe leave the show on, Chris, for next week, perhaps.
Go into it, because this is news to me. I haven't really seen anything.
Well, they're talking about changing and extending the EFL playoffs, or the Championship playoffs is what it's been written as so far, to go to 6 teams rather than 4. So it'll go down to 8th place. And to extend the playoffs and make them, a bit more excitable and all the rest of it. But I still think there does need to be a playoff system change from my end, but I don't think it needs to be adding more teams. I think there is a problem where the team that's in 3rd place doesn't seem to have a sort of an advantage. I think they probably should, based on league positioning, which we haven't quite got right. Because otherwise, when you're in 3rd place, it's generally a bit of a curse to finish in 3rd, isn't it, in the Championship? You kind of, if you've just been close to automatic promotion. So I do think there probably needs to be some sort of change, but they're looking at it in the wrong way by adding more teams. I think they need to look at who's playing who and maybe do a ladder up approach. So you knock out teams up until you get to the final, which will be against a team in 3rd place, perhaps. But there we go. Well,
for me, listening to what you said, I agree. You don't want any more teams in there. I think whoever wins the playoff is at a bit of a disadvantage anyway, because they've got a few less weeks in the transfer window because they don't know where they're going to be. What I don't agree with, and I agree it should be 4, and I like the playoffs when we're not in them. That, because they do extend the season and give you a bit of thing. But what I would say is, at the moment, you've got the 3rd place playing the 6th place.
Yeah. And the 6th place has got most momentum normally.
Yeah, and the 4th place playing the 5th. How unfair is that? Either have 3rd versus 4th and 5th versus 6th, or I think you should have 3rd versus 5th and 4th versus 6th. Even better than that, what I think you should do, which is what we talked about with the women's game, which I think is a really good idea, is that you have 3rd versus 4th, and the winner of that plays 17th in the Premier League.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, that is one way you could do it, to add a relegation playoff, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So that you've still got your... Because, look, top 2 go up. Fine, that's how it is. Or make it top 3 go up. You could extend that maybe, but whoever's finished just outside the promotion plays the best of the worst, the 17th place. Yeah. Mind you, I said that. You'd have had Tottenham playing Coventry, would it have been? Or something
it would have been. Imagine how interesting that would have been if Coventry had won a one-off game, Chris. It would have relegated them. So, exactly. I do think there is something to be said for that. They do it in Germany, I believe, and other places as well. So I think there is something there. I actually would like to propose a slightly different shift, and that is that I wouldn't have set playoff places every year. Obviously, I'm a North American sports fan as well, so I'm not going to be as old school British about this as a lot of other people, but I would have a points target. I would have you get 70 points and above, you're in the playoffs, and then you play it up, and then whoever's in gets knocked out one by one until the final against the team in third.
But then you're not creating more games and more teams there.
No, you could be creating less sometimes, because I looked, in some years that'll be 4 teams, other years that would be 6 teams. So it will vary depending on where the points are distributed. But I think it's interesting because then on the final day, you're not going to have teams resting players as much because you want the advantage being higher up the league. And also on the final day, you could be like, I need a point to make the playoffs. And it's not about finishing 6th, it's just about getting into the playoff, story.
I'm not sure on that one.
It is complicated. I'll give it. You're right. Yeah, it is complicated. Yeah. It's different.
Yeah.
Very North American, which will go down well.
Brad said, no, just keep it simple, Thomas. And he says they do a similar thing in the National League. It's dreadful, in my opinion. I don't think it is, because I think it would shake football up. Can you imagine Tottenham being in the Champions League and yet being in the Championship?
Yeah, well, it has happened, hasn't it? Millwall got into the European football when they were in the Championship, didn't they? For winning the FA Cup a few years ago. These things, these things do happen.
Right.
I mean,
that's what football needs, that shake-up, that bit of excitement. What I don't want to see is what they do in the rugby, which is where you finish top, but you're not champion. So the team that's finished 4th could actually be champions. That's very American. Like, no.
See what you mean,
coming over here, ruining all our games. Bloody hell.
I should be the same. Obviously, my hockey team won our division this year and then obviously got bounced out in the second round of the playoffs, as usual.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you do, you're not going to get
the perfect answer.
Agreeing, Hey, I'm going to thank you and leave you and everybody in the chat. Hopefully this will be caught up on catch-up as well. Just something we thought we'd try, see how it went. We may or may not be back next week. we will see.
We might move the time at least, but we thought we'd try something a bit different, guys. So thank you to those who have joined us.
Yeah, brilliant. Appreciate it. Tom, thank you very much. We'll be back at 7 o'clock tonight with Brad and, the Egg Chasers have it wrong, with Awful Gamer, and I love that name, and Elm, Steve and Brad, to give them the full name, 7 o'clock with the review. Thanks very much, Tom. I'll speak to you after. Take care, babe.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
That will conclude this evening's entertainment.